Hey everybody, how you doing? In this video, I'm gonna walk you through everything about the first paper, the close reading analysis. So here we are on our homepage, Introduction to Literature. You'll see all the stuff here. And again, everything's located in these weeks. So you see week one, introduction, and we have paper one handout. So you'll click on week one. A little bit further down, you'll see paper one, close reading and analysis. You'll click on this. And then you see the due date's June 4th. So let's view instructions. You click on view instructions, and this will bring up the handouts. So you'll click on one of these. And all right, let's closely look at the assignment. Close reading analysis. This is due Thursday, June 4th on Blackboard, Microsoft Word doc or PDF only. Don't upload a link. I can't open a link. Or copy and paste your text in the box. Instructions for uploading to Blackboard. Log on to Blackboard and go to our class. Click on the week where the paper is located. This is week one. Click on the assignment. Click on view instructions, and we're doing that. Upload either a Word document or PDF. Do not upload a Google Doc or link, and then click submit. So that's how you turn it in. Paper should be in Times New Roman font, size 12 and double space. You must use MLA guidelines for format and citations. And I'm going to go over that after we go over the assignment. The paper's worth 200 points. And here's our rubric breakdown. Introduction and clarity of thesis statement worth 50 points. Body paragraphs that follow meal guidelines, that's 50 points. And I'm going to go over this too, and I'll show you this. Engagement with the text. Each body paragraph, you're going to include at least one quote from the story. Conclusion and proper formatting guide. All right, so that's the point breakdown. And again, any questions about these, please reach out to me. For this assignment, you will write a 2 to 3 page close reading and analysis of one of the texts we have read so far. These will be the first handful of short stories. Close reading is an exercise designed to foster detailed critical analysis in order to find patterns and generate interpretations in a text. We have started doing some similar things with our discussion boards, but this paper will take close reading even further. When you analyze a text, you look at the significance of what has taken place. So instead of summarizing and saying what happened, you are looking at the importance of what has happened. We're not doing summary. I'm your audience for these stories. I've read these stories 100 times, so no summary. For example, instead of a summary, this is a summary. Nia and Sorty work every day after school in the family restaurant. One night, a guy grabs Sorty and calls her a China doll, and then Nia stabs him with a fork. This is summary. Do not do this. Instead, here's analysis. The fact that Nia and Sorty work after school until late at night shows how their lives center around work and just getting by. Nia also thinks that by stabbing the man, she is protecting Sorty. And Nia is upset when Ma not only comes to the customer's defense, but makes her apologize as well. As opposed to Nia's idea of America, this scene illustrates that in the real America, racism often goes unchecked and unpunished. So instead of summarizing what happened, you are taking a scene, character, moment in the story and showing why the scene, character, moment is important. Structure. Your paper should be structured with an introduction with the thesis statement coming somewhere toward the end of the first paragraph. You should follow with 2 to 4 body paragraphs, 1 point per paragraph that supports your thesis. Follow the meal guidelines. At the end of your paper, you should have a conclusion not simply summarizing your paper, but speaking to a larger issue or broader context. This is a very short paper, so I want you to focus on a few moments in the text that really speak to what you are talking about. Reread and look closely at these passages in order to support your thesis and make your paper meaningful. What not to do. Don't start your paper with something like, Saving Sorty is a story written by the author Mei Lee Che. It's set in South Dakota and depicts the struggles, etc., etc., etc. I've read the story. I know what it's about. Also, don't start your paper with broad platitudes expressing some general statement that has nothing to do with the text. The American dream is different for everyone. Life as an immigrant is hard. People must face adversity. These statements say nothing. Now, what you can do is take one of these statements and relate it specifically to the story. And that would take care of that. Instead, jump right into your paper. Emaili Chase Saving Sortie, and this should read 2001. Emaili Chase Saving Sortie, Nia's relationship with the American dream is both difficult and complicated. That's one way. You want to jump right into your paper. Or, Emaili Chase Saving Sortie showcases one family's struggle to work and adapt to life as immigrants in the United States. Your introduction, you're jumping right into your text. Mentioning a few points you're talking about, and the last sentence is going to be a thesis that you're focusing on. Think about the themes we have been discussing so far, the American dream, work-class communities. Ask yourself this question: in what texts do some of our themes seem prevalent? You could write your paper on our first poem, Henri Cole's Oil and Steel. Describe the relationship between the speaker of the poem and the father. What in the poem indicates the nature of their relationship? Look at what is truly inherited from the father. It's the knack for solitude, right? Not a plaid shirt and motor oil. It's the knack for solitude. How is it both helpful and sometimes harmful? How is work portrayed in the poem? Think about the work the speaker is doing, looking at and dealing with their relationship with the father. When we work on our relationships, this, as you know, is a form of work. And you're not going to be able to answer all of these, right? Choose one or two of these ideas and talk about them. Emaili Chase Saving Sortie. Describe Nia's hopes, thoughts, and relationships to America. What does Nia mean when she says, I thought we'd find the real America? Look closely at Nia and Sortie's relationship. Why are they so close? Why does Nia want to save Sortie? When and how does Nia try to save Sortie? Look at how memory haunts Ma and Sortie. How has the past affected Ma and Sortie and their lives in America? Why is Nia almost free from this trauma? How is work and class intertwined and portrayed in the story? Again, choose like one or two. For example, if you're looking at the times Nia tries to save Sortie, you'd have your introduction, you'd set your paper up, you'd mention the times. First body paragraph to focus on Nia in the Silver Palace where she stabs the hillbilly, right? Second body paragraph would focus on Sortie, Nia, and Duke in the field when Sortie has that breakdown and it relates back to the post-traumatic stress disorder from Cambodia, right? And then the final time Nia tries to save Sortie is when Nia drives out to Mr. Che's house, right? There's your paper. And what does Nia want to save her from and why? She thinks Sortie deserves more. She thinks Sortie's settling, right? And I cover all this in the video. You could write your paper on James Baldwin's Sonny's Blues. Describe the relationship between the narrator and Sonny. Why does the narrator feel responsible for Sonny? How has drug addiction defined their relationship? Look at page 24. What does the narrator mean when he says, it might be said perhaps that I had escaped after all? Do you agree or disagree? Is it somewhere in the middle? Do you feel the narrator and Sonny are closer at the end when the narrator watches and listens to Sonny play? Look closely at pages 44 and 48. You could also look at Sonny's relationship with the piano. How does the piano and music almost save Sonny, right? Again, choose one or two of these ideas and talk about them. And the final two short stories, which are really, really short. Edward P. Jones, The First Day. Describe the relationship between the mother and daughter. Why is education so important to the mother? How is social class represented in the story? What do you believe the American dream means to the mother? Explain. What is the daughter learning about her mother and about life even before she starts school? Why is this learning important? Choose one or two of these ideas and talk about them. To the mother, right? Education's everything. Despite everything we think about education, it's still one of the few forms of social mobility. Alice Walker's The Flowers. Compare and contrast Myop's life, thoughts, and experiences and feelings before and after 12 o'clock, roughly the middle of the story. How does her environment change? Why are flowers significant to both Myop and the story? How is racism at work in the story? How do we, the readers, know this, but Myop at the present time does not? Do you feel and or think Myop's childhood is over? Why and or why not? Choose one or two of these ideas and talk about them. Remember, for this paper, you're just choosing one text. Either Oil and Steel Saving Sortie, Sonny's Blues, The First Day in the Flowers, just one text. Here's an example of a meal paragraph. And what I mean by meal is probably in the past, when you construct a body paragraph, you have some type of formula. This is an acronym: M, main idea, topic, sentence; E, evidence, quote from the text; A, analysis; and L, link. And I have a handout that walks through this as well. I'll show you. But here's a meal paragraph. One of Nia's biggest struggles is accepting who Sortie dates and marries. That tells us exactly what this paragraph's going to be about, right? There's a sentence. Sometimes, you have your main idea. It could be a sentence. You could set it up with 2 sentences, and I do this with 2 sentences here. This acceptance is difficult because Nia thinks that Sortie deserves more. All right, and then you move into the quote. The quote is the evidence, and you always want to lead into the quote. You never want the quote to stand on its own. Nia describes Sortie as, quote, you see my quotation marks here, beautiful, really beautiful. Looking at Sortie, I could pretend I was beautiful too, end quote. And I want you to include, or you need to include, the page numbers. All of these stories have page numbers. So you see the quotation marks, parenthetical, parentheses, author's last name, page number. There's no comma in MLA, period on the outside. And after each quote, so you're fine with including 1 quote per body paragraph. I have a couple more here, but if you just include 1, that's good. After each quote, you're going to analyze the quote. However, Sortie's first boyfriend is Duke, a, quote, funny-looking white kid skinny as a stalk of bamboo. And to Nia's horror, Sortie ends up marrying Mr. Che, who has a, quote, hangdog face and his suit like a salesman's, with his hair combed over the bald spot in the middle of his head. And here's my analysis. So that's the evidence, right? The quote. Main idea, evidence, which is a quote. And then after the quote, you're going to analyze the quote and say what it's doing. Why is it significant? Nia sees these guys as unworthy of Sortie's love and beauty. To Nia, Sortie deserves much more than what either can offer, even if what Mr. Che has to offer is a life free of working all the time. Nia sees Sortie, married with babies at 20 years old, as giving up, living the life of an old woman. And I have another quote here. You don't need this, but if you have 1 quote, that's fine. This is one of my favorite quotes in the story, though. You sound like an old lady. You're only 20, for Christ's sake. You don't have to live like this. Ma is wrong. You can be anything, Sortie. And then here's my analysis and link. Not only does Nia want to save Sortie from these inferior guys, but she also wants to save Sortie from a life of a different kind of work, being a full-time mom and housewife and not putting herself first. So there's an example of a meal paragraph. This is the paper. I'm going to show you a couple other things. So there is that. Again, I think I showed you how to view instructions. You can upload your document here. Upload your file, hit submit. So there you go. All right. Let's get out of here. A couple things. Down at the bottom of our homepage, I have writing resources. So I have right here meal paragraphs. Here's a handout that walks through meal paragraphs, right? I know when I teach composition, we go over these in minute detail, but right here is a meal paragraph, main idea, topic, sentence, evidence, which would be a quote from our story, analysis, and link. So that's the meal paragraph, right? And you also have introductions handout, thesis statement handout. What you could do to think about your thesis statement is go back to one of those questions. Okay, let's look at one of these questions again. View instructions. Go to one of these questions for the thesis statement. And, right, what's the speaker? Describe the relationship between the speaker in the poem and the father in Oil and Steel. What's the speaker working through? And just a thesis statement. Despite the difficult relationship, the speaker is working through how they feel about the father, and the true inheritance, something like that, right? Why does Nia want to save Sordy? Nia wants to save Sordy because she feels Sordy deserves more and that Sordy's settling. There's a number of reasons why Nia wants to save Sordy, right? Sordy literally saves Nia's life. She feels like she has to protect her. Memory haunts Ma and Sordy because they're old enough to remember experience the Cambodian genocide, and Nia really doesn't, right? So answer one of these questions. That's your thesis statement. Again, Sonny's Blues, the relationship between the narrator and Sonny. The brothers are polar opposites, right? The narrator feels responsible for Sonny because he's Sonny's older brother. He made a promise to his mother, and he feels like Sonny is not doing well in life, right? Drug addiction defines the relationship because the narrator's constantly worried for Sonny and feels like something bad's going to happen. At the end, they come together because music acts as a bridge between the brothers' life, and the narrator opens up and goes to watch him play. So just take one of these questions and answer it, and that will be your thesis statement. So there's that. I'm going to show you MLA format, and I'm also going to upload some videos with MLA format as well. So this is just MLA format, right? Times New Roman, font size 12. You're going to double space all college papers. Every college paper is double space. These should be 0, right? Your name, Joe Smith, whatever. My name, the class, and the date is due. You put the day first, June 2026. Always the day, month, year. Page number, last name at top. Let's do this. So page number. All right, where do we go? Smith. Let's do this. Get that all the way to the side here. All right, insert page number. And it's gonna be different if you use Google Docs too. I'll show you a video that does the Google Docs. So I don't want that. All right. And the whole paper is double space. If you want to put a title on it, that's fine. If not, that's fine. So you're going to indent and start your paper. Everything's double spaced, right? So there you go. Double space, indent. That's MLA heading. Think of each body paragraph. Your intro. You're going to jump right into your paper. Emaili Chase saving Sordy. Nia feels responsible for Sordy for a variety of reasons. Think of your intro as being about a half page, quarter of a page. And then you have your first body, right? The first time Nia tries to save Sordy is in the Silver Palace. Think of that, if you have your main idea, evidence, analysis, link. Then think of each body paragraph being about a quarter to half page, and they might even be a little longer. Body 2. Body 2, in the field with Duke. Body 3, Mr. Che, right? And then you have your conclusion, or you might even have a body 4 with why Nia feels responsible. And there's your 2 pages. So that's what you do for that, right? Yeah. So that is how you set up your paper with MLA format. And I'm going to upload some other videos as well. Again, if you have any questions about the introduction, basically your introduction, you're jumping right into your paper. mentioning the areas you're going to talk about. Your thesis is really going to be the main idea of your paper, and then you're going to choose a few areas from the story that illustrates your thesis, you know, and that's all there is to it. And again, if you have questions about this, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, and I'll be more than willing to talk you through anything you're looking at for the paper. Yeah, so that is how you turn the first paper. You're going to be doing the same thing with paper 2. But one more time, close reading and analysis. You upload your paper, right? Upload your paper file and hit submit. That's it. All right, everybody. I think we covered that. And again, let me know if you have any questions.